The draft is in the books. I'm coming at you with a draft recap. Very limited sleep last night, 4 to 5 hours, but gotta have the draft coverage. First off, let's just go over what happened with my draft. A lot of people saying, disaster, catastrophe draft. I don't really see where they're coming from. I think they just have this binary mindset of like, if you don't have 8 $1 players and all of your auction dollars in your starting lineup, you failed. I can see that perspective. We'll go over why I think my draft was a success. I veered off my strategy big time. Had to go to contingency plan A, which was, it went pretty well based on like okay, we'll go over it here. Here, let's get into it. We're going into the spreadsheet. First off, these are all my ranks and stuff. I used to think this was top secret info. I don't think it is anymore. I think basically player takes is how you win. Everything's kind of priced pretty appropriately now. Back in like 2012, yeah, there's a lot of easy money just by like buying certain positions over other positions. I don't think that's any longer the case. So I don't really think my spreadsheet has to be top secret stuff anymore. The strategy going in was I wanted 2 tier 1 quarterbacks. And I was not really considering Mahomes tier 1, although if he, I just probably would never get him for my amount. But if he went really cheap, I'd pounce, obviously. So I wanted Lamar. Lamar was kind of my target, and he went for a good price, a price that I would have been willing to pay. It's just I already had at that point, I believe, 2 expensive players on the roster. Looking back, how the rest of the draft unfolded, yeah, taking Lamar would have been the primary A+ draft grade option for me. That didn't happen, though. So I had my fallback tier, which was basically tier 2 I wanted to kind of avoid. My fallback tier was these guys. Targets being, once I had Jefferson, I wanted Cousins, just Zell blank checked him, so that became not really an option. And then at running back, I was perplexed this year. I couldn't figure out running back. Basically, I had 2 linchpin players. I assumed that my tier 1 guys, there's a tier of 3, with Eckler being a slight step down. Obviously, there's a tier of 2. But Eckler, I would put like lower in tier 1. And then my guy was Barkley. Barkley was kind of my linchpin. He went for under the amount I wanted, but I think I'm actually happier with Eckler for 52 than I would have been with Barkley for 40. And then my other guy was Javonte Williams. These were kind of the 2 expensive running backs I was targeting. Otherwise, I was planning on loading up on cheap, high upside running backs with some boring guys in there just so I have some stability early on in the season. Like Montgomery, I was considering. Really wanted to avoid like ETN, Breece Hall. They ended up not going for crazy prices, so like their prices weren't bad. But like ETN, I just think is not that good. Breece Hall, he's fat. Dameon Pierce might be value, but you're kind of like paying ceiling prices for him. Like, can he be top 10? Maybe 10 he could be, but like not really much more. I think when you're drafting running backs, you want guys that can be like top 5 league winner type guys. I think Javonte is going to be the league winner. If I had to put money on someone this year, that'd be the guy. This is kind of just like my load up zone, and I did a pretty good job of loading up on them. Receiver is pretty loaded this year. My blank check guy was Elijah Moore, so I knew I was going to get him no matter what. I didn't realize he would go for like super cheap. I don't know if you guys know this is a generational talent we're talking. So very happy with that. So I had Elijah Moore 23rd overall. Obviously very divergent opinion. He's my most divergent opinion I have here. I'm pretty happy with my receiving core. So Jefferson is my top dog. Got him for 51. Pretty happy with that. My strategy was basically go cheaper at running back unless I got a good value at one of the top target guys. And if I did get a value, that would cut into my receiver budget, but it turned out that my quarterback budget is what actually took the hit. So yeah, I'm really happy with Jefferson 51. I feel like there's like 1 or 2 real difference makers above and beyond like a big group of guys, and Jefferson is clearly one of them. Devontae Adams could be one. Kupp could be. I just kind of don't really see it for him again, but who knows. And then Diggs. That was kind of my clear-cut top 4. And I really wanted to load up on tier 2 and 3 guys. This is the zone that I loved. Like, Higgins was my guy. Higgins over Chase. That's like one of my takes. I was a little nervous about Lamb. DJ Moore, love it. Pittman, I'll take. A.J. Brown, I'd take. Mike Williams, I would take. Just any of these guys. Sutton, I really liked. I really like Judy. Judy was probably not a good purchase price, but at the time of the draft, it had to be done. And I do like Judy. I feel like Judy has a lot more upside over Sutton. Judy could be, like, if we're talking SEC receivers over the past 6 years, like, Judy's the best one in college. Obviously, Jefferson now, it's clear he's the man. But, like, I mean, Judy's a lot better than Jalen Waddle, a lot better than Devontae Smith. I mean, they were on the same team. Judy was better. I just wonder, he's like a route running specialist, like a Mari Cooper style guy. And I don't know if that really fits with Russ. That's one of my fears. Cortland Sutton is obviously the better fit with Russ. A couple more player takes. Obviously, Mahomes is just a guy. That's my big take. He'll probably be like QB 10 this year, if I had to guess, fantasy-wise. Lost some weapons. I just think he's going to be pretty bad. My other take is Trey Lance, way down the list. He's going to submarine your season. Just really bad. And you're buying him at a ceiling. I guess, what did he go for? 32. So it's not a bad price. I was expecting him to go more like, yeah, I'd expect him to go more in the 40 range. So at 32, it's not bad, but he was in a void for me. No strong takes at running back, really. I guess my big take was just like avoiding the 28-year-old running back with like 4,000 career carries. So like Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Kamara, Fournette, Jones, just like all those guys. Chubb I think is 25, 26, but like James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott, just like all those guys were pretty much a void. I did end up with Eckler, who's 27, but I think he has a little bit less carries than the rest of these guys. My suspicion going into the draft this year was like a lot more people are going to be hesitant to pay for top tier talent, and they are going to want more of like a evenly spread out lineup, or like they just don't want to go 70 plus on any particular player. They'd much rather get a bunch of like $30, $40 guys. So that was somewhat confirmed when Taylor went for 66, a little lower than the top tier running backs usually go for. And then what else happened? I think me getting Eckler is kind of what happened next. So Eckler for 52. I had the barometer of Taylor at 66 to kind of base the $52 Eckler off of. And then that, when I got Eckler for 52, I didn't love the guy. Like he's not a target of mine, but it was a happy winning bid for me at 52. That kind of confirmed my belief of like, okay, we're underpaying for top tier guys this year. That seems to be what's happening. And though it's step down from that is going to be overpays. And that is indeed what ended up happening. So when I locked in Jefferson for 51, 17th nominee, I was happy with that. Super happy. Couldn't be happier. Then we did indeed get a series of overpays. So like Dalvin Cook, 57, to me, that's bad. Jamar Chase, 53, obviously that's really bad. Overpay. Cooper Kupp for 56, that's expensive. Henry for 63, that's just really nutty. But I guess Kevo has to get his guy. He just always drafts Derrick Henry. But yeah, that's an overpay. So my prediction came true, except it happened a little sooner than I anticipated. I thought there was going to be a series of underbids and then more mid-tier guys, like tier 2 and 3 guys going for more. But it ended up being like the lower tier 1 players being overpays. If we look here, like Herbert, 59, it's not really a bad price, but relative to the other QBs, I would say seems like an overpay, a little bit of an overpay. And then actually there was value in like tier 2 and 3. So I was thinking tier 2 and 3 would get squeezed up. That is how I drafted, which may have been a little bit of a mistake. So like here we see, yeah, like Cook, Henry, those are probably the two big overpays. I'm fine with Javonte Williams, but relative to the position, it seems like maybe a slight overpay. But if you want Javonte, I'm fine with $48. Kamara, 51, is pretty egregious. And then at wide receiver, so yeah, Chase, overpay. Diggs and Adams and Lamb, Higgins were all pretty good value. Receiver, it's tough to do something terrible. So like, what was the worst? Nothing really stands out. I guess I would say McLaurin for 20 is pretty terrible. So as I had to pivot to my fallback plan, the fact that I was able to get Derek Carr for 26, that was exciting. So that was a big deal to me. And then I'm very happy with Justin Fields for 21. There is obviously the implosion potential, but I do think he has decent upside for the price. It's going to be a rocky season, but, you know, I'm happy with it relative to what else was out there, relative to the other prices paid. I'm pretty fine with that. I think the big errors I made, if we want to go, first we'll go through my draft recap. We're starting out the draft. I'm super happy with the 2 high dollar players I got. At the time in the draft, the amount I got him for was great. DJ Moore, I'm very happy with that too. $26. I love it. Have him as wide receiver like 9 or something. Wide receiver 8. So yeah, for 26, that's not bad. Nico Collins, whatever, for 2. Probably is realistically worth 1 based on how the rest of the draft went. So then we're kind of waiting around, and I do sense the doors closing on the quarterback position. So I grab Carr for 26, who I think has pretty good upside. Also pretty good floor. Rachaad White, I like him. He's number 2. He was number 2 on the depth chart behind 29-year-old Leonard Fournette. So I think that has some upside, obviously. Judy for 20, probably my worst value, but based on the amount of money I had, the time of the draft, it was kind of a must-have guy, and I'm happy with him because he is a guy I believe in. Justin Fields for 21, happy with it. If you look at each individual purchase of mine, I'm overall pretty happy. I think the team construction is maybe where I went a little off the rails. So like Miles Sanders for 7. Like if I could just trade in ideally, and maybe I can work some trades at some point. But like if we just turn Miles Sanders, Juju, and Devonta Smith into like a $25 running back, that would be preferable. I feel like a $25 running back is going to emerge out of Sanders, Pollard, Henderson, Hines. Like something will happen. So overall, I didn't really execute on the strategy. I'm fine with it though. I'm fine. I'm happy with the team. I think I have a contender for a championship like I always am. Nowhere near a catastrophe like you guys want to make it seem. And yeah, I have money on the bench. It's not the worst thing. It'll be fine. Okay, so let's get on to the draft grades. We're going to start with Toe. Kelsey for 33, that's market prices. Hurts for 50. I don't really love it. I mean, Lamar for 51 is obviously a lot better, but it's not terrible if you believe in the guy. I think out of the tier 1 QBs, Hurts has the lowest floor. Saquon for 40, I like it. Higgins for 32 is probably market price, but I'm a big believer in Higgins. Daniel Jones for 15. I mean, if you're looking at Jones for 15 versus my QBs, who are you taking? Carr 26, Fields 21. You're taking mine. Dameon Pierce for 18. Just feel like he'll be like a very average guy the entire year. Mike Williams 23, not bad. Gabe Davis 14, a lot of upside, not bad. Chunk Play May is a good contingency plan to Daniel Jones. And then Olave, I'm not really a believer in. The bench, Dotson, Mostert. Yeah, just has some upside. I like Isaiah McKenzie. If we look at the starting lineup, I'd say it lacks a little bit of firepower. You do have the Jones-Barkley connection. Toe is generally a pretty good drafter. It's solid. This is a solid team. B+. Now, Hoot has been known to make some egregious errors in the draft process. So we have 2 of what I would call slight overpays, Kupp and Herbert. But if you believe in them and you want to get your guys, it's not terrible. Tua for 23 is probably market prices. Javonte, you could maybe call it an overpay. I'm just a big believer. So yeah, Hoot's really top-end talent is on point. A primo guy at each position. Can't really complain. Some upside at RB on the bench. Probably market prices, though. I don't love the overall team construction. Wide receiver 3 is going to be a problem. You got a strong flex, though. Bench is looking pretty good, too. Maybe Rondell Moore is a decent start at receiver early on in the season. Yeah, receiver could be an issue for Hoot. Overall, though, I didn't get a lot of value, but the starting lineup has a lot of firepower. I'm gonna go C plus. Next up, we have Kevo. So Kevo did not get much value. Not a lot of value to be seen here. 66 on Taylor is not bad. It's pretty much the cheapest a top running back has ever gone for. So it's definitely not an overpay. Henry for 63, I think, is where we run into problems. Like, that's pretty egregious, in my opinion. One of the biggest overpays of the draft, probably. Tyreek Hill for 29, I don't believe in the guy at all, but if you do, that's not a bad price. Metcalf, yeah, you just have my entire avoid list on your team, basically. Ugh, yeah, I do not like the team at all. Josh Jacobs for 14. Jared Goff for 14. The QBs are... Yeah, this is going to be a tough year for Kevo. Not a lot of... Really weak bench, too. Like, who are you draft? Did you do no research on, like, who to draft at the end of this thing? Like, Robbie Anderson? What are you doing? 3 defenses. Why do you have Calvin Ridley? Cavante Turpin? What is happening here? Yeah, Kevo mailed it in this year. Wow. I did not realize how bad this guy's draft was. That's a D- for Kevo. Now we come over to Zidich. A lot of preparation. This is a big year for the guy. And let's see how it went. Kyler Murray for 52. That's probably market prices. Although Kyler Murray is, I would say, the most consistent of the top tier QBs, maybe outside of Josh Allen. Had him number 4. 52 is market prices. Devontae Adams for 40. I'm not the biggest believer in the guy, but it's value for sure. It's probably a slight discount there. Trey Lance is on my avoid list, but the price is not terrible. I just think he's going to be a horrible quarterback. DeAndre Swift for 39. That's one of the better values of the draft. I would not mind that. At the running back position, 39, DeAndre Swift. The guys below him went for really good value, but DeAndre Swift really, I want to say the cheapest guy that has some kind of upside. Maybe Fournette, you could say. But if we're talking the ability to be a difference maker at the position, DeAndre Swift probably the cheapest guy that fits that mold. Pretty good value. Amon-Ra Tarek was kind of down on this pick. I thought it was probably at value. Yeah, pretty much at value. But relative to other players in the area, yeah, it's probably just at value. Not terrible. A.J. Brown, 28. That maybe is an overpay. I don't know. I'm not really too in on him, but it is, in my books, it's at value. Christian Kirk, Devin Singletary, Drake London, Dallas Goedert. That's probably one that I should have taken. I was thinking back to this. In a parallel universe, whenever Zell's in a bidding war with me, I kind of give up on it because I know I'm not going to be going to his extremes. But, like, I should have gone for Darren Waller a couple more times at least, probably. And then if I missed him still, I probably should have just blank checked Goddard. That maybe was an error. And then Tar always fills the bench with good guys. Benjamin was on my priority list. I definitely think he is going to have an impact this year. Melvin Gordon, I guess, doesn't... Yeah, if you're looking for a RB2 that could start for you, which Tarek is, that's not a bad guy to have. Kenneth Gainwell, too, maybe some upside. Overall, Tarek in general has good draft. The player selection is not my... I guess aside from Trey Lance and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Drake London, I like the players overall. We are on to Zell. Josh Allen for 61 is not a bad price. The top quarterback has pretty much every year except for one gone for more than that. So yeah, Josh Allen for 61, not bad. Cousins for 31. It's not terrible. It's definitely a little bit of an overpay. Dobbins for 18. ETN for 24. A lot of upside at running back. Even Clyde for 17. He might do something. Someone here will probably emerge for him at running back. Waller, Cooks. Robinson's not a bad deal. Michael Thomas, probably market value. Bateman, I'm totally out on Bateman as an NFL player. Yeah, Zell did fine. No real screaming values, but overall, let's see what the lineup looks like. Yeah, lineup's a little shaky at running back to start the year. That's for sure. Yeah, when I look at the lineup, I don't love Zell's team. He should be solid, though, but I'm going to go with a B. And now we are on to Lou. So we got Pittman for 31. That's market prices. Russ for 48 is a little bit of an overpay. Yeah, that's Russ for 48 when Lamar goes for 51, Hurts goes for 50, Murray goes for 52. Yeah, that's really bad. That's one of the most egregious prices of the draft. CeeDee Lamb for 39, definitely not value, but it's not terrible. McLaurin for 20, don't like it. Sutton for 25, it's market value probably. Lawrence for 18, market value. Chase Edmonds for 23. Pretty bad. I'm just kind of out on him. Yeah, Lou has a really bad team. Yeah, Lou did not do well this draft. Let's see what the starting lineup looks like. Oh, boy. Yeah. No real top-end talent either. I don't know why this guy likes Terry McLaurin so much. Yeah, Lou's going with... I got to give Lou a D. Probably a D. Solid D. Okay, now we got Ligma. So Jamar Chase, 53. A little bit of an overpay. Aaron Jones, 40. Yeah, just a lot of these guys, probably like 10% over what I would pay for them. Montgomery's fine, just super boring. Kittle's fine. Not a typical Chapman team. A lot of old, boring guys here. Elliott for 20. Could be value, but it's probably market prices. Tannehill, Trubisky... Waddle. Bench is looking okay. Nothing special. Yeah, starting lineup doesn't look terrible. Wide receiver 3 is an issue. Maybe you don't really have much on the bench. I guess you're just praying George Pickens turns out. But yeah, maybe needs to make a move at receiver. It's not terrible though. I would give it a B-. Super Camario, Elway. I remember during the draft, I was thinking he was doing a decent job. McCaffrey, 62, I like it. He's my #1 running back. Kamara, 51, I don't like it. I really do not like that at all. But, you know, if you like the guy, it's not terrible, I guess. A little bit of an overpay in my book. Andrews for 25, good value. Pretty good, just market prices. Debo for 35, if you like the guy, fine. I just don't like the guy at all. Got him way down here. So to me, Debo's an overpay. Burrow for 43, that's probably market prices. Ryan, 17. And then loading up the bench with seemingly decent players. So Elway's got a lot of firepower in the starting lineup. At receiver, he's got to find something. Boyd could come through. Cam, yeah, he's got some options at receiver. Even Watkins might be decent early on in the season, but you're leaving a lot on the table. You got to find some receivers here. You got, yeah, AJ Green at flex, but your top tier talent maybe carries you. I don't love the draft though overall. I'm going to go C+ for Elway. Now we got Wes Telly. The 61-20-60 basically came true. Dalvin Cook for 57. That is an overpay. Apparently Toe has him as like the #3 running back. Yeah, to me, 57 there is a pretty sizable overpay. Joe Mixon for 39. If you like the guy, that's a good price. I don't like the guy, though. Dak for 38 is okay. Evans for 26, good value. Rodgers for 43 is fine. Elijah Mitchell for 20. At the time, it didn't seem terrible, but like looking back at the end of the draft, that's an overpay. Alan Lazard for 11, same thing. That's an overpay. At the time, maybe not, though. But looking back, yeah, that's an overpay. Dalton Schultz for 5, market value. Everything else, he did get DJ Chark, which I like because he's trying to plug a hole in his receiving core early on, and I feel like DJ Chark could be a good start. But he really doesn't have much receiver depth at all. Like, I don't. You have Cook, Mixon, and Mitchell, and you still have like 3 running backs on your bench. Why don't you just have all receivers? Team construction, questionable. Why do you have Rex Burkhead instead of a receiver? Doesn't make a lot of sense, but the team looks fine. The starting lineup has good firepower. I'll give it a B-. It's not my favorite team, that's for sure. Now we're moving on to Aiko. Aiko very down on his draft. And he tried to salvage it with a $12 Adam Thielen. I don't think that's the answer Aiko was looking for. So, we got Deontay Johnson for 20. Probably market value. Cam Akers for 15. At the time, seemed okay. Retroactively, looks like an overpay. Stephon Diggs for 39, that's value. That is value for sure. That may be the best receiving value in the entire draft. Fournette for 27 is also not bad value. I don't really like the guy, but if we're looking at like top tier running backs, yeah, that's value. And he also got Chubb for 34, so that's an overpay. Definitely an overpay there. Keenan Allen for 26. I don't know, he's so old, so slow. I don't know. There's not a lot of upside, but if you're just trying to have something solid in your wide receiver position, I guess you could do worse. Brady for 42. He's kind of an avoid for me, but it's not a bad price. Definitely not a bad price. Winston for 24. I think relative to other QBs, particularly my QBs, I'd rather have mine for the prices I got him for. Fields for 21, Carr for 26, but Winston for 24 is not terrible. Thielen for 12. So we had Deontay Johnson, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen. I don't understand Thielen for 12. Why? I think Thielen for 12 was honestly a big misstep because you could have loaded your bench with some potential. It'd be nice to have, yeah, just be nice to have more running back depth probably. Because like Akers is your third running back, and then James Cook, and then nothing. Why do you have 4 tight ends? The bench leaves a lot to be desired, but he got a lot of good value. I think Aiko is a little too down on his draft. I'm going to give him a B. And then we got Borg to round things out. Najee Harris for 46 is fine. Lamar for 51, good value. Pitts for 29, market prices, don't hate it. Connor for 27, not bad value. Marquise Brown for 17, maybe a slight overpay, but I don't hate it if you believe in the guy. Cooper for 5, yeah, it's whatever. Hunt for 8. Godwin for 16. Wide range of outcomes for the guy, so I guess it's not a crazy overpay. Mac Jones, great dollar cost averaging into Mac Jones. Carson Wentz for 7. Mooney for 16. Not a lot of glaring errors in Borg's draft, you'd have to say. Wow. I was expecting Borg to have a much worse team based on how I thought the draft went. But overall, it's not too shabby. Yeah, Borg actually did well. Borg did pretty well in the draft. Definitely some spending in places. Maybe it's not justified. But overall, Borg did well. I'm going to go with an A for Borg. That's going to do it. That's the draft recap. Give me your takes. Give me your opinions of my terrible catastrophe of a draft. And week 1 is upon us.